Welcome, Middlers, to the Medium in the Middle podcast. My name is Stephanie, and I take you on a journey of self-discovery and spiritual exploration. I am a Reiki master teacher, a spiritual and business mentor, and of course, a psychic medium. And I am here to share my story and help you tap into your extraordinary abilities. Join me every Wednesday as we dive into the realms of intuition, energy healing, and all things mystical. Whether you're a seasoned spiritual seeker or just dipping your toes into the magical waters, this podcast is your go-to source for inspiration, guidance, and a whole lot of lessons and laughter along the way. Let's get started. Hello, Middlers. Welcome to episode 225. My name is Stephanie. I am the medium in the middle. The first time I recorded that, I said, welcome to episode 125. I can't believe it's been 225 episodes. Holy moly. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you listening. I hope you are enjoying the podcast and it's helping you along your spiritual journey. Today's podcast episode is a DM that I got on Instagram with a question that I thought was a really good question. And I said to this person, thank you so much for the podcast idea. I have to do this in an episode. So it really got me thinking. And I also think it will get you thinking. So we're going to start today with the card pull, which I actually wasn't going to do. I went on live on Instagram to pull the card, and I was just going to kind of pull for whoever was on live just to get my voice warmed up, and it just kind of helps me tune into my intuition. That's why I like to pull the cards. It just gets me kind of in the zone to work. And then I pulled the card, and the first card that came out was the Wishing Well. And it was after a lot of shuffling, and I was like, oh, okay, the Wishing Well, and then I put it back in, and I kept shuffling and shuffling and cutting the deck and shuffling, and I was talking with people, and then I went to go pull another card, and the Wishing Well flipped over again, and I was like, okay, the same card popped out twice. I have to share it on the podcast. And then I kept shuffling the cards, and that was the only one that kind of came out, so I really was not in the mood to pull, but this card wanted to come say hello. So this is for you guys. I launched a card reading flash sale last week, and then I launched another one this week. So when I'm doing a lot of card readings, I like to save my intuition and my card energy for those readings. I find it gives me better readings when I do that. So I personally don't like to pull cards a lot. I usually only pull cards for the podcast once a week. But when I do those flash card readings, I really have to be in the mood. So I'm always like, oh, this will be like a fast service. But I'm like, no, it takes me a while to be like, okay, am I ready to go? Am I energetically ready to go? Am I in the zone? I am going to share with you the card that really wanted to be added to this week's podcast, card 48, the Wishing Well. Desire is the sacred impulse for life. Feel it, but let go of all attachment to ownership. Desire is the most important impulse for creating life. Now you're seeing the relationship between desire and inspiration and sensing that moment of truth when you feel the inception of new life. It is an aha moment when everything makes sense. Perhaps you recognize a soulmate or are conceiving a baby or an idea. The Wishing Well card awakens you to the presence of unseen forces that enable new beginnings. Divine Intelligence activates the field of possibilities where new life is co-created in a magical way. Neither you nor anyone else can know how or why this happens. It just does. To that end, you can't control the process of growth. Rather, you must step aside to be a channel for higher forces and relinquish any attachment to how this new creation should appear or when. Form your intention and take action by dropping the coin into the Wishing Well, then trust in spirit. Prepare to be amazed. Ooh, if I was reading this card, I would think it's about my car. The episode that I just did. Drop your coin into the Wishing Well and then wait for it to be delivered. So I do want to give you, podcast listeners, a little insider tip. I have been releasing things on Instagram on my story to story viewers only. So story viewers have received a heads up when I'm doing the flash card reading sales. They also get first dibs when those spots open up. I also fully released another 10 more Akashic Records to story viewers only, and just trying to really nurture and foster that relationship of, if you are staying in contact with me and watching my stories and viewing my posts on Instagram, get a little reward. You get first dibs on things. So if you aren't already following me at Medium in the Middle, stay connected over there. I post a lot of helpful Reiki tips and information. I post special launches whenever there's new courses or anything. It's all over there as well as my website, but Instagram gets always first dibs. I do have a lot of announcements for you this week. We have a lot of stuff coming up. So this Saturday, July 20th, is my monthly mediumship circle. We will practice mediumship. You get a partner where you give and receive a reading, and you also get guidance from me, and I answer your questions. I've been receiving questions about what type of experience you need, and there's no experience necessary. I cannot stress this enough. It can be your first time practicing mediumship. You cannot be too sure about your mediumship skills. You cannot know what's going to happen. That's literally the whole point of this circle. No expectation, a little bit of direction. You're paired with a stranger who's doing the exact same thing with you. So it's a really good and safe environment to just see what happens. So just make sure you can attend live. It is this Saturday, July 20th from 11 a.m. till 12:15. I do have a Reiki Level 2 coming up this weekend as well. And this is the first time that there is not a lot of students signed up. So I got the intuitive hit to open it up to any past Level 2 students. If anyone is interested in retaking Level 2, please send me an email. And I'm offering that at less than half price if you just want to retake the course. Maybe it's been a year, maybe you want a refresher on the symbols, maybe you want to sit in on the practice of everything again. It's a great opportunity to join if you're available this weekend. If it's too hot where you live, jump on that. And then the July Level 1 still has 3 spots left. It's July 27th and 28th. If you are looking to learn Reiki Level 1, that is the course this month. I do those courses monthly. So they are offered virtually every month. I offer a Level 1 and a Level 2. So there will be more in August, September, October. I've been getting a lot of messages about how often I do them. They are very popular, so I do them every single month. Okay, so today's podcast episode is inspired by a question that someone DM'd me on Instagram, and it really got me thinking. So I wanted to share this with you because I know a lot of the listeners are intuitives, or you have different gifts, mediumship, psychic, whatever it may be. So this listener asked, "Hi Stephanie, I've started listening to your podcast and I'm very much enjoying it. I have a question for you. If you had a choice to have never had your medium ability turned on and you could continue to live a normal life, what would you have chosen?" And this question really got me thinking, because at first I was like, oh my gosh, I would never turn it on. And then I was like, is that true? So I said to this person, like, thank you for your question. I'm going to have to make a podcast episode about this. Like, there's no way I could just answer this in a message. That's such a big question. But it really got me thinking after, the last, how long has it been? 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. I'm in my 8th year. 7th year, 8th year. I'm going into my 8th year. I don't know how many years. And to think about like everything that has happened in the last 8 years, to go back to a normal life. Okay, let's talk this through. Because when I first saw this message, I was like thinking how much quote unquote easier it would be. But then I was also thinking about all of the benefits. I obviously have a business. I have this podcast. I've created the world of my dreams. I've learned how to manifest. I've learned how to listen to my intuition. I've made my life so much easier and faster. Like, now I can easily say the benefits far outweigh 8 years of school, because that's what it feels like. 8 years of school. Let's say 7 years of school, because I'm in my 8th year. 7 full years of school. Like, people get a doctorate in that time, and I'm just trying to learn how to use my damn intuition. So if I had a choice to answer the question, I think I would still have my abilities be turned on, because it saved me from so many things. If you've been a longtime listener, you remember that I used to be engaged to, we called him Joe on the podcast, and I would have never left. I would have still been in Ontario. I probably would have had a couple kids. I would have hated my life. I would have felt like I was in jail still. I would have been living outside of Toronto. Like, I literally think about my parallel life all the time, and like, I would fall on my knees and pray if that was a thing, but I just like literally thank the universe all the time, being like, thank God I'm not there. Thank God, or the universe, or whoever we're thanking, myself. I want to thank me for leaving. And I remember my first intuitive hit, and I'm sure I've shared this story on the podcast. Let's rewind 7 years ago, where I was working and living in Ontario, and I quit my job at Lululemon. I decided I wanted to make myself uncomfortable and shift up my life. Then I went to Costa Rica for a month. That's when I took my Reiki level 1 and my Reiki level 2. And that was also the first time that I came back to visit Banff in 3 years. And I still remember the plane wheels touched down in Calgary, and I could not stop smiling. I didn't realize how long I hadn't smiled for until those plane wheels touched down. And from that second, I was like, we're moving back, Joe, we're moving back. He was like, no, we're not. No, we're not, Steph. Stop saying that. And I told everyone. And I was holding my cheeks for a whole week, being like, my face hurts from smiling so much. I'm moving back. And then I went back to Ontario, and I couldn't get a job quite literally anywhere. So we had I was done. I quit Lululemon. I went to Costa Rica for a month. We had this Banff trip, and then I was like, okay, I'll get a job when I come back. And when I tell you that not Tim Hortons wouldn't even hire me, McDonald's wouldn't hire me, Walmart wouldn't hire me, I went into these places and talked to the managers. I put in my applications multiple times. They just all told me I was overqualified. And I was like, I know I'm overqualified. I just need a job. And it was weeks and weeks of not being able to find a job. And I was like, what is going on? Why won't Tim Hortons hire me? When an aha moment came over me. And I swear this was probably my intuition actually turning on this moment. And it was just like, you're not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to be here. And I just knew I had to go to Banff. And as soon as I decided that I was going to Banff and I was going to move back, I stared up at the sky and I was like, okay, I'll go back to Banff, but I need a job because I need to make money to go back to Banff, because I just went to Costa Rica for a month and I haven't worked, and we went to Banff and now I haven't had a job in another month. So it was I think 2.5 months without a job, which for me is crazy. I shouldn't say that. 2.5 months without a full-time job. I still had 2 side jobs. So I was still coaching CrossFit and I was still doing lashes, but I didn't have a third job. So I was still needing a full-time job. Anyways, so I stared up into the sky and I was like, fine, I will move back to Banff, but I need a job to make enough money to move me back. And quite literally within 3 days, I had a job after that declaration. And as soon as my mind was made up that I was moving here, everything fell into place. Everything since that day has fallen into place. It has fallen in or out of my way. So to go and think that without my mediumship abilities, without having taken a Reiki course, without Reiki level 1 and Reiki level 2, and then, a year after that, taking my Reiki masters, I literally wouldn't be sitting in my own condo in Banff doing what I do, having my own business, having a podcast that has 225 episodes, quitting working for someone else. I'm in year 5 of business. I've built a very successful business. I've more than tripled my old income. I have complete schedule and time freedom. I have a dog. I go to the gym every day. I live on my favorite place on earth. I have amazing friends. I listen to my intuition all the time. I get whatever I want. I can manifest whatever I want. I know all of these things to make life easier and faster, and to think would I give all of that up because 7 years of school was hard? And I would say we're always in school, we're always learning, but I would say it was probably 5 years of learning hard lessons. So for 5 years of school, would I give it up? No. I think at first thought I was like, ooh, normal, yes. And then after thinking about it, and I was like, no, I could never. Because going back to the mediumship thing specifically, I can choose to shut it off whenever I want. That took me 3 years to realize and practice and get good at. But just because I'm a medium doesn't mean I'm sensing things all the time. Just because I'm a medium doesn't mean I'm picking things up. Just because I'm a medium doesn't mean I'm doing readings. There's so many things that now I have a clear on and off switch. I am normal again. I do feel normal again. I can go to yoga again. I can go to the grocery store again. I can sit around at dinner again. I just went to the Calgary Stampede and I went to a rave and I was perfectly fine. I had a shower and I went to bed. I didn't have spirits bothering me all night. I didn't have noise in my head. I didn't stay up for hours. I didn't have to sit down and shake in a chair forever until all the energy was moved. I didn't have to clear forever. No, I had a shower and I went to bed like a normal person after a concert. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have come so far. Old Steph could never go to a sold out rave at Badlands, the Calgary Stampede, and come home and go to bed. Literally, she could never. I would be up all night clearing energy, burping, yawning. So that experience actually showed me how truly far I've come, because I had to stop going to concerts for a very long time because I couldn't deal with the crowds. I had to stop going to yoga for a very long time because I couldn't sit close to people. I felt very uncomfortable out at dinner because I was so sensitive to energy. But now my boundaries are so strong that I do feel quote unquote normal again. And I know if you've been a middler for a long time, you've listened to my journey since the beginning, and you've seen 225 episodes of me going through the highs and the lows and all the lessons and the learnings that have happened over the years. But for the most part, I am always off. Now that this is my job, I talk about it for work, I talk about it on the podcast, and that is it. I have a lot of people who are still at the beginning of the podcast, and I get messages being like, you're looking for friends, I'll meet you, I'll have, if you ever want to talk, if you ever want to go for coffee, if you ever want to this. And I was like, oh, thanks, that was years ago, I'm good now. I don't want to talk about work if I'm not working. I don't want to talk about this stuff unless I'm recording for the podcast, because outside of work and the podcast, I'm living a normal life. I'm talking about the weather. I'm sitting on a patio drinking a wine. I'm walking my dog staring at a tree. I don't need to talk about this all the time, all day, every day, because I got it figured out now. But yeah, for the first 3 years, I was lost and it was a spiral. Now it's settled. So it's just really interesting to see the growth. But this question was a really good question. So I also want to pose the question to you. If you had a choice to never turn on your abilities, and if you could keep living a normal life, what would you choose? I would love to hear your answers on this too, because maybe you feel like you're still struggling. Maybe you don't have your boundaries in check. Maybe, school is hard right now. But I really do view it as 5 years of school. It took me a long time to learn, and now I'm good at it. So yeah, now it's easy to say, well, look at everything that I have. I can manifest, and I have a job, and I have a business, and I have a podcast, and I, support myself, and I'm more than abundant, and I can manifest whatever I want. And yeah, now I can do that. I couldn't do that 5, 6, 7 years ago. I was learning. I was a student. I was trial and error. So if you're feeling in that spot, I would say keep going. Don't give up. It gets so much easier and faster. But this was a really good reflection question. So as I thought through my thoughts, I was like, this has to be a podcast episode. I have to talk this through and think what would I do? And my final answer is I would keep everything exactly the same. I am someone who really, I hate the word regret. I don't believe that you should have regrets in your life. I think that just holds you in the past, and that is a heavy burden to carry. So I regret nothing in my life. I don't wish I would have changed any decisions, because all of the decisions that I've made have led me to where I am now, and where I am now is amazing, and I wouldn't change my now for anything. So my past is just a part of my present. And it has made me who I am, and it's taught me lots of lessons. And if those things didn't happen, something else would have happened. So I really don't like to think about regret or wanting to do things a different way or hoping things went a different way. Nope, I like it. I like the cards I was dealt. I will, take whatever is thrown at me and deal with it. And yeah, I just don't like to ever think about regret. Like, that's such a big and heavy, heavy word. That's the little thinker that we have this week. A little thought-provoking question, but I thought it was very interesting to go back and reflect. So I hope you enjoyed that episode. I would be curious to see what this has you thinking now about your situation, your spiritual development and journey. Press that subscribe button. I release new episodes every Wednesday. And if you haven't already, I would love a rating and a review. It really helps the podcast grow. I will leave all the links you need down below if you are interested in signing up for a Reiki Level 1 or Reiki Level 2, or if you are interested in joining the Mediumship Practice Circle that is happening this Saturday, July 20th. That will be there as well. You can book an appointment with me. I work virtually over Zoom for all of my sessions, and I also work right here in Banff, Alberta for in-person sessions as well. So you have lots of options to work with me. All the links you need are down below in the show notes. But until next Wednesday, Midlers, when I see you in your ears, I hope you have a wonderful week. Bye.